At my brother's wedding, my mom gave a speech about her only son. She's golden boy. I was sitting in the front row. I paid for the venue, so I asked the DJ to cut her mic. And then the lights off. And as the room fell silent, I stood up and, I'm the older brother. By 3 years. I'm 33 now, and growing up, I used to think that made me special. Like I had a head start in life. I was wrong. There are 2 sons in this family, but only one ever mattered. My younger brother, Ryan, has always been my mother's entire world. And I don't say that with bitterness, not at first. I say it because I spent most of my life thinking I understood it. Ryan had asthma as a kid, got sick easily, needed more attention. I got it. I was the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who didn't make a fuss. But at some point it stopped being about care and started being about preference. Ryan got the new car at 17. I worked for mine. Ryan got college paid in full. I took out loans. Ryan crashed twice. Mom blamed the weather. I missed Thanksgiving 1 year for work. She didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. Still, I stayed close. I told myself it was love, family, that maybe one day I'd finally be seen for who I am, not just who I'm not. I paid off my loans, got my own place, started my business. I even hired Ryan when he was between jobs. When he proposed to his girlfriend last year, he came to me, not for advice, but to ask if I'd help cover the venue. I said yes, not because I had to, but because I wanted to be part of something that finally felt shared. Ryan was grateful. His fiancée even hugged me. My mom? She texted thanks and nothing else. But fine, that's just her. I've learned to manage expectations. The wedding was last weekend. Beautiful outdoor setup. I paid the deposit, arranged the lighting, even upgraded the catering last minute when the planner told me the guest list had grown. I sat in the front row, alone. My date had to cancel. My mom and dad sat with Ryan at the family table near the dance floor. Dinner was done. People were full and laughing. I finally let myself enjoy it. Then came the toasts, and my mother, unprompted, took the mic. She didn't ask permission. She didn't thank the guests or the planners. She just started with, I never thought I'd live to see my only son get married. I blinked. Then I looked around. People were smiling, nodding, some tearing up. She kept going. He's always been my heart. Since the moment I held him, I knew he was the one. Kind, brilliant, loyal. I looked down at my plate. She continued, he's had a hard few years, but he's pushed through. We always knew he'd make us proud. He's always been there for us. And then she said it. Our family is stronger because of Ryan. He's held us together. He made this day happen. The room applauded. My chest tightened. My palms were wet. The DJ glanced at me from his booth. I lifted one finger, cut the mic. He paused, unsure, and I nodded once. The sound cut. A soft static echoed, then stopped. And then, the lights went out. Not all of them, just the string lights over the dance floor. The speakers hummed and faded. Someone dropped a glass. And in the silence, I stood up. And I walked, slowly, to the center of the room. People turned. Phones lifted. My mom stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. Because for the first time in 33 years, I was going to say something I couldn't take back. I didn't plan to speak. I wasn't even supposed to be part of the speeches. I was just the guy who paid for everything. Quietly, anonymously, out of pocket. But something broke when she said, my only son. You don't misplace a child. You don't forget they exist. Not when they're sitting 15 feet away. Not when they covered the cost of your catered shrimp skewers and champagne. So I stood there, in front of friends, coworkers, extended family, a few people I hadn't seen since high school. And I said, calmly, I just want to say, congratulations. People clapped, nervous, unsure. I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at her. And thank you all for coming tonight. It's a beautiful venue, right? Some people nodded. The bartender near the corner froze mid-pour. I picked it myself. Paid for it too. Along with the food, the flowers, the lighting, the DJ, and the extra tables for all the last-minute plus ones. Including the guy over there who tried to hit on my ex. "What's up, Marcus?" Some light laughter. Then silence again. I did it because I love my brother. Because when he came to me and said he needed help, I didn't hesitate. Not once. Even after everything. Even after how this family's treated me. My voice didn't shake. I surprised myself with how steady I was. I continued. "I'm not saying this to get applause. I'm not even saying it for him." I looked back at Ryan. He looked small. Like a child caught watching his parents argue at bedtime. I'm saying it because apparently it needs to be said I exist. I'm not a ghost. I'm not just the guy who makes things happen in the background. I turned back to the crowd. "My name is Jordan. I'm the older brother. The one who didn't get the college fund. The one who paid rent at 19 when my parents couldn't afford to help me anymore. The one who sent money during COVID when Dad's job dried up. The one who loaned Ryan $5,000 last year to cover his car and never asked for it back." Ryan opened his mouth, closed it, "And I'm the one who paid for this." I paused. And yet, apparently, I'm not even considered family. My mom stood up. "That's not what I meant." I held up a hand. "No. You've said enough. All my life, I've stayed quiet. I never caused scenes. I never argued. I tried to be useful to keep the peace." I looked her dead in the eyes. "But I'm done making myself invisible so he can shine." Then I looked at the DJ and said, "You can turn the music back on now." He nodded, fumbled for the controls. A slow song faded in. I walked straight out of the tent, past the drinks table, past the guests pretending not to stare, and into the night. Not one person followed me. Not Ryan. Not my father. And definitely not her. Not yet anyway, because the fallout? That started the next morning. I woke up the next morning to 37 unread messages. Most were from people who were at the wedding. A few from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Some said things like, "You were brave." A couple just sent question marks. One text from a cousin in Nevada simply read, "Bro, finally." But the one that caught my eye was from my mom. It came in at 2:17 a.m. "I'm sorry you felt that way. It wasn't the time or place for that kind of scene. Please don't ruin this weekend for your brother." No apology. Not really. Just deflection. Guilt? Classic. I didn't respond. Then, about an hour later, I got a message from Ryan. This one was different. "Hey, can we talk? Mom's freaking out." I didn't know she was gonna say that stuff. I swear. No period at the end. Just I swear. I stared at the screen for a while, thumb hovering. I thought maybe, just maybe, this could be the first time he stood on his own 2 feet. Then a message popped up from my friend Dave. Dave wasn't even at the wedding. We hadn't spoken much since college, but he followed me on Instagram and knew I'd been helping Ryan. His text? "Hey man, I saw something you should probably know." Attached was a screenshot. It was a group chat. A family one. Title, "Wedding Plan Final, Real One." Participants, Mom, Dad, Ryan, Aunt Melissa, even my cousin Jamie. I wasn't in it. At the top was a pinned message from my mother. "Let's just keep the speech focused on Ryan. He deserves the spotlight this time. Jordan doesn't need the attention." Below it were messages I scrolled through, eyes wide. Ryan had replied, "Yeah, let's not mention him. He's doing this to help, but we all know how he gets. I'll keep him busy with errands if needed." Someone else had laughed. My dad added, "Just make sure he doesn't think he's hosting. He'll probably try something." That was dated a week before the wedding. My stomach dropped. They hadn't just forgotten me. They planned to erase me. And they used my money to do it. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone across the room. I just sat there, staring at that thread like I was reading the obituary of a family I used to believe in. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the coordination. The casual cruelty. The way they spoke about me like I was a liability, not a person. Not their son. Not their brother. Just a box to check off. An obstacle to work around. I took a screenshot of the entire thread Dave sent me. Then I opened the regular family group chat. The one I was still in. The one where they sent memes and birthday reminders and photos of the dog. I didn't add a caption. No long speech. No sarcastic jab. I just dropped the screenshot. Read receipts started popping up in seconds. Mom saw it first. Then Ryan. Then Dad. 3 dots appeared. Someone was typing. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, my mom sent, "Jordan, this isn't what it looks like. Please don't make this worse." Worse? That's when it hit me. They weren't sorry. They were scared that I'd exposed them. That someone outside the family now knew what they'd done. I stared at the message. Then I typed, "You know what? I was never asking for credit. Just basic respect." And then I left the group. Immediately after, I put every single one of them, Mom, Dad, Ryan, aunt, cousin, on mute. I wasn't ready to block them, not yet. But I didn't want to hear their excuses either. That afternoon, I got another message from someone I hadn't expected. Ryan's fiancée. Now wife. It was short. "Can we talk? Please." I hesitated, and then I said yes. Because if she knew anything about that group chat, or worse, if she was part of it, I needed to hear it from her face to face. So we met at a coffee shop near my apartment. She was already there when I arrived. And the first thing she said? Not hello. Not thank you for the wedding. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I didn't know they did that. And I think you should see what Ryan's been hiding from you." I wasn't expecting much. Honestly, I thought maybe she was trying to smooth things over. Keep the peace. Do the whole let's not ruin the honeymoon energy bit. But she came in stone-faced, no makeup, hair still curled from the night before, and hands shaking around her coffee cup. "I didn't know about the group chat," she said again. But I knew something was off. I stayed quiet. Let her talk. She pulled out her phone, tapped around, and turned the screen toward me. It was a photo of a bank statement. Her name and Ryan's were both on the account. Then she scrolled. "Look here," she said, pointing to a transaction from 6 months ago. $5,000 deposit memo from Jam. My initials. I frowned. "That's the money I lent him. For the car." She nodded. "I know. But that's not where it went." She scrolled further down to a withdrawal just 2 days later. $4,200 catering deposit, the Garden House venue. I froze. "I thought I paid for the catering through my planner," I said. "You did," she said softly. "Again. He used your loan to put down a placeholder, told me it was a gift from your parents. Then told them you flaked and he had to cover it himself. So when the time came, you covered it, not knowing you'd already paid for it once." My jaw locked. My hands were trembling now too. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. "This is everything. Screenshots. Texts. Statements." I was going to wait until we got back from the honeymoon, but after what happened last night, I can't keep pretending this is okay. "Why are you telling me?" I asked. And her response? "Because if I married a man who lies to his own brother and manipulates his fiancée to get away with it, I need to know what else he's hiding." She got up. "I'm staying at my mom's for a few days." "I'm sorry, Jordan. You didn't deserve any of this." I sat there for 10 more minutes after she left, staring at the envelope. And then I opened it. And the first thing I saw? A Venmo screenshot from Ryan to our dad. $3,000, thanks for keeping quiet. Let's not tell him. I stared at that Venmo screenshot for a long time. There wasn't even an attempt to hide it. Not a code name. Not an emoji. Just a raw transfer of money from Ryan to my father, with a note that may as well have said, "We got away with it." And I felt it. That deep, hollow cracking in your chest when you realize you've been the only one playing fair. I called him my dad. Not because I thought he'd explain. Not because I believed there was some good reason. But because I wanted to hear how far he'd go to deny it. He picked up on the second ring. "Jordan," he said, cautious, like he'd been waiting for this call. I didn't waste time. "Did you take money from Ryan to lie to me?" Silence. Then, "Where are you getting this from?" "From his wife. From bank statements. From Venmo. From actual proof." A long breath on the other end. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." That was it. That was his response. Not denial. Not shame. Just that flat, tired tone of someone inconvenienced. "You knew I loaned him that money," I said. "You knew he repaid you instead of me. You lied to my face." "I didn't lie," he snapped. "I just didn't tell you." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Wow. Semantics. You didn't tell me because you knew it was wrong. You're not a victim, Jordan. You're acting like some martyr." Click. I hung up. I didn't wait for the rest of that sentence. I knew how it ended. It was always the same thing. Stop making it about you. Don't cause drama. Ryan's under a lot of pressure. Be the bigger person. I wasn't the bigger person this time. I was just done. And in that moment, sitting on my living room couch, that envelope of lies still open on the coffee table, I realized something simple and terrifying. My family didn't just take advantage of me. They built a system around it. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. The speech, the chat, the money, my dad's voice saying, "You're not a victim." And suddenly, my brain went to places I'd never wanted to explore. If they were comfortable lying about something this blatant, what else had they done? At around 2 a.m., I logged into my credit monitoring account. I hadn't checked it in a while. I paid my bills on time. I had decent savings. I didn't think I needed to. Turns out I was wrong. Right there, under active accounts, was a credit card I didn't recognize. $9,300 balance. Opened 18 months ago. Monthly payments? Sporadic. Sometimes paid, sometimes late. Never from my bank account. The card was under my name, my social security number, my identity, but I didn't open it. At first, I thought maybe it was fraud, identity theft, some external hack. So I called the issuer. The guy on the phone confirmed the mailing address used to open the account. It was my parents' house, the one I grew up in. I felt cold. Not angry, not yet. Just numb. The representative said, "You can file a dispute, but since the address matches, we'd need proof someone else opened it on your behalf. Can you tell me who's been making the payments?" A pause. "I'm not authorized to disclose third-party payment info unless they're on the account." "I am the account," I snapped. "It's my name." Another pause. "Sir, we do show a linked bank account for auto payments, but only for the first few months. Then manual payments after that." He gave me the last 4 digits. I recognized them immediately. It was Ryan's checking account. I ended the call, sat in the dark. Then I opened the folder Ryan's wife had given me. Tucked in the back, almost as an afterthought, was a printed email thread between Ryan and a venue coordinator. Not from this wedding, but from a different one. Dated over a year ago. A place they almost booked and didn't. Ryan had written, "Can you run it through the backup card?" Under my brother's profile. He's chill with it, long story. And she'd replied, "No problem, processed." He used my name, my credit, for his wedding. And the only reason I found out was because my mom couldn't resist taking the mic. By morning, I wasn't numb anymore. I was calm, focused, like something inside me had finally clicked into place. A switch I didn't know I had. I started with the basics. I printed everything. Every bank screenshot, Venmo transaction, wedding invoice, and email Ryan's wife had given me. I included the group chat screenshots. I printed my credit report and highlighted the account I never opened. I organized it into a file folder with dividers like it was a presentation. Then I got in my car, and I drove to the police station. I didn't call first. I didn't ask for permission. I walked up to the front desk, asked to file a report for identity theft and fraud, and sat down with a detective 20 minutes later. He was younger than me, maybe late 20s. He kept glancing between the papers and my face like he couldn't decide which was harder to believe, the amount of evidence I'd brought or that this had all come from my own family. "So just to be clear," he said slowly, "your brother opened a credit card in your name, charged close to 10 grand, and your parents knowingly used those funds for his wedding expenses?" "Yes." "And they've admitted none of this to you?" "No. In fact, they've denied anything even happened. Or they've tried to guilt me into silence." He tapped his pen. "Well, you have a strong case." I filed the report. Then I drove straight to my bank and froze my credit. Not just with them, with all 3 bureaus. I locked everything down. Password changes. 2-factor authentication. New cards. New PINs. And after that, I emailed Ryan. 1 sentence. "You opened a credit card in my name. I filed a police report. Do not contact me again unless it's through a lawyer." I BCC'd his wife. 5 minutes later, my phone lit up with a call. I didn't answer. 10 minutes after that, my mom called. I declined. Then my dad. I turned my phone off. Because in that moment, I wasn't their son. I wasn't their safety net. I was just a man cleaning up a mess someone else made with his name. And I wasn't going to protect them anymore. It was the third day after I filed the report when she showed up. I hadn't spoken to her since the wedding. I blocked her number the night I froze my credit. But I guess she still remembered my address, or maybe Ryan told her I wouldn't answer anything else. I was eating lunch when the knock came. 3 fast hits. Then a pause. Then another 2, like she was testing whether I'd answer. I looked through the peephole. It was my mom. No makeup. Puffy eyes. Hair pulled back like she hadn't showered. She was holding her phone and wiping her face with the edge of her sleeve. I opened the door but didn't step aside. She looked up at me and whispered, "Jordan." I didn't speak. She took it as permission to continue. "He told me you called the police," she said, voice cracking. I didn't react. "Why would you do that?" she asked, then immediately corrected herself. "I mean, I know why. He's your brother." There it was. Not what he did was wrong. Not we're sorry. Not even are you okay? Just why would you make this harder for us? I leaned on the doorframe and said, "Did you know about the credit card?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then nodded just barely. "How long?" I asked. Silence. "How long did you know he was using my name?" She stared at the ground. "Since last summer." That answer punched the air out of me. She sniffed. "He told us it was temporary. That you'd agreed to it. That you said it didn't matter because your score was high in it. And you believed him?" I snapped. She looked up sharply. "You always had more, Jordan. You were always more stable. Ryan was struggling. I just didn't want to see him fall apart. So you let him steal from me." That shut her up. I waited. I wanted anything resembling accountability. Instead, she said, "I just don't want him to go to jail." I stared at her. "You're not here because I'm hurting," I said. "You're here because you're scared this finally has consequences." She didn't deny it. She cried. A little. Quietly. Kept wringing her hands like a child caught doing something bad, but not sorry for the act, just scared of being punished. "I gave everything I had," I said. "Time. Money. Trust. And you stood there and watched him ruin me while thanking him in a speech." "Please," she whispered. "We're family." I took a deep breath. "No. You're blood. That's not the same thing." And I closed the door. She didn't knock again. She didn't call either. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. It happened on a Thursday morning. Ryan got served at his office. The process server walked right into the lobby and handed him the packet in front of 2 coworkers. It wasn't for show. I didn't even know it would happen like that. But the moment it did, my phone, the same phone that had been quiet for days, lit up like it was Christmas morning. Aunt Melissa texted, "Jordan, this is too far." My dad emailed, "There has to be another way." Even Jamie, the cousin who laughed in that group chat, messaged me. "I didn't know it was that serious. Maybe you could talk to him." Talk? Talk now? After a full year of using me like a blank check with no face? Ryan himself didn't message me, not directly. But he sent his new wife. Again. She called me that afternoon. "He's freaking out," she said bluntly. "He came home slamming doors. Said you're trying to ruin his life." I waited. She sighed. I told him he ruined his own life. There was a long pause. Then she added, "You're not wrong for doing this, by the way." "Thanks," I said, unsure of what else there was to say. Then she said something I didn't expect. "He wants to settle." I blinked. "What?" "He's scared. He doesn't want this going to court. Doesn't want a record. Especially now that I've told him I'm considering separation." "You're leaving him?" "I don't know. I thought I was marrying someone decent. But he used you. Lied to me. I feel like I was part of the con even if I didn't know." Another pause. "I'm not calling to defend him. I'm calling because you deserve better than the lies your whole family's been feeding you." She offered to help. Not just with testimony, if needed, but also with more documentation. She said she'd already started pulling together evidence. I thanked her. And for once, I meant it. It was surreal. All of it. For 33 years, I had been invisible. And now? Now I was the name in every mouth. The name they couldn't ignore. Not because I yelled. Not because I begged. But because I did something they never thought I would. I stopped letting them use me. He called from a different number. No warning. Just a random 10-digit unknown ID blinking on my phone while I was doing dishes. Normally I wouldn't answer, not anymore, but something told me to pick up. "Jordan," he said immediately. I didn't respond. Just set the sponge down and listened. "I know things have escalated. I know you're angry. Still quiet. But this is family, son. There's got to be a better way to handle this." There was that word again. Family. Like it was a magic spell meant to erase debt, deception, and years of gaslighting. I walked over to my desk, opened the drawer, and hit record on the spare phone I kept for work. "I'm listening," I said. "I spoke to Ryan," he continued. "He's willing to pay some of the money back. Not all, he's tight right now, but maybe you two could work something out. Privately. No lawyers. No charges either, right?" I asked calmly. A pause. "I just don't think dragging this through the courts helps anyone." I leaned back. "No, it just protects the people who stole from me." "It was a mistake," he said sharply. "A mistake, Jordan. And if you'd been more understanding." I cut him off. "I have the Venmo transaction, the fake card, the forged email, the group chat, and now this call." He went silent. "I'm not negotiating," I said. "You don't get to frame this like I'm the one who went too far." He tried again. "What would it take to make this go away?" I said nothing for 5 full seconds. Then, into the quiet, I said, "A public apology, full repayment, and a written statement admitting what Ryan did, signed by all 3 of you." "You're kidding." "No. I'm offering you a chance to resolve this before it becomes part of the public record." His voice lowered, cold now. "You're blowing up your own family for what? Pride?" I didn't flinch. "I'm protecting myself. Something none of you ever did." Click. He hung up. But I had everything I needed. And for once, they were the ones scrambling to clean up the mess. A week passed. No more calls. No texts. Just silence, the kind I used to mistake for peace back when I still believed that not fighting meant things were okay. Then, on Thursday, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name written in my mom's handwriting, that same looping cursive she used to write my birthday cards when I was a kid. I opened it slowly, half expecting a guilt-ridden apology or maybe some half-measured excuse to salvage their image. But it wasn't that. It was a formal letter printed on plain white paper signed by both my parents. The first paragraph was stiff, legal-sounding, like something their neighbor who used to study law helped them draft. It claimed they were deeply saddened by recent events and felt blindsided by Jordan's aggressive actions. Then came the real bomb. They were formally requesting that I drop the police report and agree not to pursue any public charges against Ryan in exchange for a mutual no-contact understanding moving forward. No apology. No repayment. Just a quiet exit deal, one that would protect their golden boy from a record and protect themselves from any public embarrassment. They even had the audacity to add, "In the spirit of family unity, we hope you will consider this a mature resolution." I read it twice. Then a third time, and I laughed. Not a bitter laugh, not angry. Just the kind of disbelieving, exhausted laugh that escapes when someone tries to gaslight you in writing. I placed the letter on my table, took a picture, saved a PDF copy. Then I drafted my own response. Short, to the point. "No, I will not be silenced. I will not be guilt. You can explain yourselves to the authorities, not to me. This is what maturity looks like." I attached that image. Emailed it back, BCC'd my attorney, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I owed them a single thing. It started with a voicemail. "Mr. Monroe, this is Detective Halvorsen. We're moving forward with the investigation. I have a few follow-up questions. Please call me back when you're available." I called him within the hour. He was calm, professional, but there was an edge to his voice. Like even he was starting to get frustrated with how deep the lies went. "We subpoenaed the account records tied to the fraudulent credit card," he said. "There's a clear digital trail. Logins, IP addresses, matching devices." "And?" I asked. "They all trace back to Ryan." There it was. Confirmation. They'd given him a deadline to respond to the charges: identity theft, fraud, and unauthorized use of financial accounts. Ryan hadn't responded. Not until they knocked on his door. It wasn't an arrest, not yet, but it was a formal notice. A warning. One last shot to cooperate before charges were filed. And that's when everything cracked. First, I got a text from Ryan's wife. He finally admitted it. All of it. He even admitted to using your info to apply for a second card. One I didn't know about. She sent me a photo. It was a screenshot of his confession sent to her in a last-ditch attempt to keep her from leaving. I messed up. I panicked. I thought I'd pay him back. I never thought he'd notice. He never notices. That line hit me like a slap. He never notices. They were so used to me being quiet, to fading into the background, they genuinely believed they could drain me dry and I'd just nod, smile, and refill the tank. But they were wrong. She told me she was staying with her mom, that her lawyer would be in touch if they needed her as a witness. She even offered to testify if it came to court. Then came the email from my dad. No greeting. No subject line. Just, we never thought it would get this far. It had though. It had gotten that far. And it wasn't because I pushed it there. It was because they spent years pretending I didn't matter and finally learned what happens when the invisible person stops staying quiet. The settlement came in through my lawyer. It wasn't flashy. No courtroom drama. No big scene. Just a signed agreement from Ryan, facilitated by his newly hired attorney, agreeing to repay the full balance in monthly installments over the next 18 months, along with a formal written admission of liability. It wasn't out of guilt. It wasn't even an apology. It was desperation. His wife had officially filed for separation. The police investigation was still open. And suddenly, repaying me wasn't just about avoiding court, it was about salvaging whatever scraps of credibility he had left. When the first payment hit my account, I stared at it for a long time. $519.36. That number, so precise, so transactional, felt like the most honest thing Ryan had ever given me. Because it didn't come with a fake smile. No forced "love you, bro." No speech from mom about how we all make mistakes. It was money. Quiet, cold, scheduled. And it told me everything I needed to know. Later that week, I boxed up the few family photos I still had in my apartment. I couldn't look at them anymore. Not because I hated them. I didn't. That was the worst part. I still wanted to believe in them. Somewhere deep down, I still craved the family I used to imagine we were. But every time I looked at those photos now, all I saw were people who knew exactly who I was and chose to overlook me anyway. I didn't burn them. I'm not dramatic like that. I just put them away. Tucked the box on a high shelf. Out of reach. Out of sight. Like they did to me for most of my life. And when the silence returned, no more texts, no more knocks on my door, it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like relief. I used to think being quiet was my strength. I was the peacemaker. The helper. The one who didn't need recognition, who let things go, who stayed out of fights to keep the family together. But here's what I've learned. If you stay quiet long enough, people don't see it as strength. They see it as permission. Permission to cross boundaries. To rewrite history. To take what's yours and call it a gift. To erase you from the speech at a wedding you paid for. I wasn't the angry one. I wasn't the problem child. I wasn't the loudmouth, the rebel, or the golden boy. I was the silence that made their dysfunction possible. Until I stopped. I didn't burn bridges. I built a door. Walked through it. Closed it behind me. And locked it. Ryan still owes me 17 payments. I haven't spoken to my parents since the letter. I heard from a cousin that my mother tells people I went distant, like I disappeared on a whim, not because I was forced to face just how disposable I'd always been. But that doesn't matter anymore. I have peace. Real peace. Not the kind that comes from pretending things are okay, the kind that comes from knowing you did what was right, even when it hurt. Even when they tried to guilt you out of it. So if you're reading this and you're the quiet one in your family, the invisible backbone, the one who always forgives, who always pays, who always folds, let me say this clearly. You deserve better than silence. You deserve to be seen. And the moment you stop making yourself small is the moment they finally realize you were holding everything together. Let them feel the weight of losing that. I did. And I'm still standing. Subscribe for more daily stories from me.